Hello everyone. I have a limited edition today for you from Idea Factory, North America. It comes with a little trading card, as they all do. It's a visual novel called 9 R.I.P. Here's the game. It comes separate from the box, which is good because it meant I was able to start up the game, and I have played already 2 routes, so I can talk quite a bit about the game. There's some interesting stuff to talk about. So thank you very much to Idea Factory for sending over this box. Just to explain this before we start on the box, this is a separate pack. It does not come with the limited edition. It is separately available on the IFI online store, and they included it in the box for me to show you. It's called 9 R.I.P. Accordion Book and Postcard Set. Just to clarify again, it's a separate item from the limited edition. Now, I have a feeling this will make more sense once I've talked a bit more about the game, so I'll leave this for later to unwrap. And the little trading card is called Crossing Over. The tagline at the bottom says, "What was that voice last night?" Well, this is completely part of the whole theme and world of the game. We're going to dive into the spirit world. So, 9 R.I.P. This sounds just a wee bit ominous, don't you think? And there were a lot of questions. I remember even before the game came out, I saw it on social media. A lot of people were worried it might be going deeply into horror territory. And that's one of the points I want to explain and clear up, because not everybody likes horror, explicit horror in particular, although Japanese horror always tends to be a bit different, but can be quite gruesome too. So, is this game horror? Does it have strong horror themes and scenes? And the answer, from what I have seen so far from playing 2 routes, is no. I would not classify it as part of the horror genre. There are a few situations where it might be getting just a little bit close, sort of, the odd moment that might be borderline horror. It was clearly some concern to people, so Idea Factory have actually provided a guide to help people decide whether this is okay for them or not. And they provided a horror and romance rating. The horror levels vary by route and realm, with the school ghost story routes being the spookiest, and spirit world the least spooky. I will explain that more as we get into the different story realms. As luck would have it, I have actually completely by chance played the 2 routes which are at either end of the spectrum, so the one that is the least horror-centric and the one that comes the closest to horror. So I think I've got a pretty good overview of the range of situations in the game. So here's the box. The title is only on the side here, and on the back we have another scene with the outlines of the various characters. So this cover design is in fact the template for the 4 different story settings, or realms as they call it. And this is replicated on the title screen on the game itself. And under episodes, you can see I'm currently playing the school ghost story, only just finished. And I have also played the one at the other end, the spirit world, which is the one with the least horror type elements. So the two panels in the centre here are coloured red and sort of yellow-orange are the two I've played, and at either end the two other settings, urban legends and other realms, I have yet to play. It looks like a slide-out box. That's the back cover. Obviously a fan. And you know, I love fans. They can be so pretty and useful. I do use them in the summertime. Very pretty. A small box. This is where it gets interesting. Now this is described as a magatama necklace, and the stone is a honey jade. This is quite interesting because we have a lot of jade in New Zealand. We call it greenstone here, so this is really nice. So the items they have chosen for this limited edition reflect, I think, the effort that has gone into the design of the game, which is quite striking. And now I have to mention the artist and character designer, because many of you will recognize the name. Some of you will be fans of her artwork, and that is Yuuya. I think the name Yuuya itself will already draw many people to this game. And once again, Yuuya has pulled it off with some really nice and interesting designs. There's, of course, a lot of scope when you're dealing with the supernatural and the spirit world. So I am interspersing a lot of screenshots I've taken to give you a real feeling for the game's atmosphere, a bit of the dialogue.
あなたが今自身の気持ちを無視していてはいけない。
But don't worry, absolutely no spoilers. The screenshots are completely out of order, like a shuffled card pack. Now, Yuuya is probably known to many of you from previous games, and in particular two recent ones, which I happen to have. They are Café Enchanté and Cupid Parasite. And Yuuya did the artwork for those two. Now, I want to explain a bit about the general setting for the different stories happening in the 4 different realms. There is an overarching story, and once again, I'm not going into too much detail, but I think it's helpful if you know that the main character, named by default Misa, and I've stuck with that name, but you can choose any name you like, is a high school girl, young woman, who has reached the stage where she needs to decide on her future career path. A bit of a stressful time, I understand, for many Japanese students. And it is for Misa in particular, because she's really conflicted about this. For a variety of reasons, I won't spoil any of that. And what's happening is she's under stress because she's prevaricating and she's pushing away making a decision. And it's affecting her emotional state, really. She's in a bit of a crisis, you could say. And that's where the 4 different story realms come in.
探しましょう。 僕は、あなたを闇へ誘うもの。これから先は、
In each one of those, she enters a different world, all broadly connected to the supernatural, you could say, and in particular the variety of ghosts and spirits that roam Japanese myths and legends. And this is one aspect I find really fascinating about this game. I think it sets it apart from other stories in that the main question is really, how is Misa going to resolve this particular problem, this issue she has that's threatening to cause chaos in her life? And this is where I think the psychological insight that the writers display here comes to the fore. The writers have really very intelligently explored how a person pushed into a state of emotional and mental crisis reacts and what they need to be able to resolve the conflict. I'm not going any further than that. The way they've done it is really clever and very appealing, I think. So the game is not just a story about a girl and spirits. It is very entertaining on that level, but if you like, there is also a lot of wisdom in the story about how we cope with things. How do we get across a really difficult patch, and find out what we really want to do with life and what sort of person we want to become. And that's really what this game is all about, in my opinion. Now that struck me straight away because when I started up the game, I just followed a trail of what I thought felt a good decision, as you do when you explore a visual novel for the first time. And I was put on a path in the story setting of the spirit world, which is all about spirits, but nothing reminiscent of horror, let's put it like that. It's a very, very sunny story. That's how I would describe it. As far as I can tell, in each story you meet 3 important characters in the realm that you're in, and 2 of those are romance options. Well, I just naturally fell in with a character called Yukimaro. Here he is. Yukimaro is such an effervescent character. The voice actor, he just took that role by the scruff of the neck and he just made the most of it, and it is so funny. So endearing, so entertaining.
さっきからいたのだがの、お主が煙なんて撒くものだから見えなかったのだろう。演出があだになったな。これ、神様ともあろうお方が。
I was chuckling all the way through. You know what that route in the spirit world reminded me of? A bit of these old classic movies from the 1930s and 40s. I suppose many of you won't know those anymore, but they were called Screwball comedies. And I've always loved watching those. They're just fantastic. And that route, the spirit world, reminded me a little bit of a screwball comedy at times. So I'll pop in a few screenshots with some of the dialogue to show you the flavour of that particular storyline. And while the other characters I encountered later on are all interesting and well portrayed, I haven't had a connection as strong with any as with Yukimaro. I have to confess, Yukimaro is my favourite. Strangely enough, he might actually not make the best romance option in terms of romance, but in terms of entertainment value, I haven't seen anything that can beat Yukimaro. The voice actor, I'll pop the details up on the screen, is called Ken, Kenn, that's his professional name, and he's done a lot of voice acting, very experienced. Now here we have a CD, Whispers from Near and Far, and it is not a soundtrack, but an audio drama CD. And you know, I think that's a good decision. I would not have been very excited about having the soundtrack, because a soundtrack for a visual novel has to be very much in the background, and it's often quite repetitive as well. It's not something I would want to listen to separately on its own normally. It's got to suit just that particular situation when you're playing the game. So this is obviously the Japanese audio drama version, and it says on the back, which is what they usually do, you follow the audio drama translation and there is a web page listed. So just read along as you listen. And there are, they say, spoilers in these audio drama stories, so play the game first, of course. But yeah, I think that's cool and that's a good decision. So we come to the last item in the box, and that would naturally be the art book, 9 R.I.P. Why is it called 9 R.I.P? Well, I worked it out this way. I can't guarantee that I'm right, but this is my attempt. We have 4 worlds. Each one has 2 characters that you can finish the route with, so a total of 8, and the 9th is a hidden route, and that one you can unlock. It's not too difficult. You do not have to play all 8 routes just to get the hidden one unlocked. No, I think the condition is you have to get the true or good ending for 3 routes to be able to do so. I have in fact already unlocked 2 of those by playing the Spirit World and the School Ghost Story. So I would just need one more, a third route, a specific one, to unlock the hidden one. A table of contents, and there's a lot there. So we have a gallery, character introductions, walk-through information, and short stories. The short stories herein are connected to the limited edition drama CD. We recommend reading after enjoying the drama CD. Please be aware that this art book contains spoilers, game strategies, and information on in-game epilogues. Please read with caution. Well, I will proceed very carefully, and I think the main thing I want to show you is just a few of the character designs and a few of the CGs. As you can see, the artwork is very vibrant and uses specific colours, usually connected with each world. But there is a lot of pink and purple in there. One route is all completely doused in red. It looks phenomenal. The young woman here, that is our protagonist, Misa. No, she is not the sort of mousy, retiring type. She is a real character with her own thoughts, her own decisions, etc. The whole story is about her making decisions. So, yes, she's got to be a more active protagonist. And in this game, Idea Factory have done what they've already done in other recent visual novels, and that is you sometimes have little segments in between where you get it's called the perspective of the protagonist or the other person who she's beginning to form a relationship with. So you get just little insights into them, just in a sort of like a 1-minute clip. Very stylish design. Some exteriors have beautiful detail. Everything is drawn with great care. Now this is Kureha from the school ghost story setting, and I'm avoiding the side of the page where the text is with the information. And he dates back to the Showa period, so there's another interesting angle there. Kureha's route is quite a long one, so once you've finished the 9 chapters and got the heavenly ending, which is what we would normally call the true ending, I very strongly recommend putting in the effort to also get the godly ending. It is excellent, but also because the heavenly ending is not what you might normally expect. It's not a generic happy-clappy type of ending. It hews closely to the themes and the whole ambience of the story.
心が病まないように過ごしていこう。
And therefore might surprise you. You might even find it slightly disconcerting. It's certainly food for thought. This character, Koyu, I haven't met yet, nor Senna, the boy gazing at the stars. This is Minami, who is an incubus. You meet lots of different interesting types of spirits in the different realms. Now here's a really intriguing character. I have already met him in the school ghost story route, but I think he plays a main part in another realm, so I'm really keen to explore that one. And he is called Seiya, Grand Warder of Hell Organization. Whoa, yeah. That sounds a very forbidding title, but he's a truly interesting character. He only played a minor role in the school ghost story route, but I was already intrigued. I have since started with the other realm and am aiming for Seiya's route, and I'm having a great time with this particular world. I will also want to do Minami's route simply because he's such a little slime ball. And here he is, my favourite, Yukimaro. And Yukimaro is a guardian spirit. He is described as, and there's no big spoilers here, generally very bright and lively, and I would say that's an understatement. Of course, you have to remember that while our protagonist, young woman, has to explore these other realms and find her way through, these spirits also have an ability, of course, to sometimes find a way into what they call the mortal realm, the world of the ordinary humans. So there is a lot of room, especially in the spirit world with Yukimaro, for all kinds of humorous situations, and that's why I mentioned the Screwball comedies. That's why it reminded me of that. Now this is Koharu, and he is the other romance option in the spirit world setting, together with Yukimaro. A very appealing character. He is a spirit board, and I won't explain that because it's explained in the game. It's really interesting what happens around this whole spirit board setting. He can come across as a bit brusque and rough at first when you meet him. You know, that's an interesting chemistry for things to happen between him and Misa, our protagonist. Now here is Toka. Toka plays a really important role. His spirit type is Tengu, and he is very helpful to Misa in various situations. Now I find Toka really interesting because his spirit role specifically, and I didn't know much about Tengu before playing the game, so I'm learning a lot. Toka's role is to put burdens on people in the human world, in the mortal realm. And you think, what is that? Is that some kind of nasty role? But it isn't at all. It's a helpful role. In a strange way, it reminded me of my childhood and how we were brought up. Putting a burden, in other words, giving someone a difficult task or a challenge means you give them the opportunity to grow and to develop. And that's how I saw Toka's role. That same concept exists, or certainly existed in German culture when I grew up after the war. So I really related to that. You can see how everything thematically in the game ties in with the concept of one person, in this case Misa, finding her way through a stressful decision-making part of her life and having to grow through that process. So here is Misa herself and her sister Tsubasa, and her close friend Sayaka, who is deeply into the occult. So that's quite funny, because the one who's getting the real exposure to the spirit world is, of course, Misa. But Sayaka certainly is very knowledgeable, so that's helpful too.
それそれ。こういう各地の伝承と同じようにね、成美が
And the text in the book here is not an awful lot more, it's quite general than what I have already told you. She's obviously a high school student, second year. She's described as bright and kind, which is the case, but she tends to overthink things. And that's, of course, what pushes her deeply into the stress situation. And there are various other characters and smaller roles. And here I see in the section called Walk Through Information, it is in fact a complete listing of all the routes with the core information to help you make decisions. Or if you're thinking, gosh, which path of decisions did I take? I mean, you can keep a lot of save files. There are heaps of slots. The little thumbnails all have good descriptions on them, so you can instantly see at which stage of decision making you are. But the game does not have, like some visual novels, a sort of diagram, a flow chart with, showing all the paths and decisions. They haven't done that. And when you look at it, you think, gosh, is it complicated? But of course, when I started the game, I obviously wasn't using a guide, and I didn't have the book then to look up anything. And this is a very straightforward game to play. Even people who haven't got a lot of experience with visual novels, I think would be absolutely fine. And as long as you save at the crucial decision points, which are obvious because you choose either one or the other, way to go, that's where you save. If you ever need to go back, it's easy enough to do. As far as visual novels go, and some of them can be a bit confusing at times, I found it all very clear, very well organised, and not at all difficult to follow. Is there anything I don't like about 9 R.I.P? Oh yes, there is. I find the font style with a heavy outline in the CG scenes low on readability. Not a great choice in my opinion. My second gripe concerns the status screen with the affection levels. If somebody can explain to me how this works, because my whittle brain is getting confused with the overly creative, cubism-inspired design. Avoiding insanity is honestly not too difficult, so I haven't had much use for this gauge so far. And lastly, in this book, we have the extra small stories, which are sort of like an addition or expansion to what happens on the audio drama. They're simply double-page spread of dialogue. A bit of a dessert, I suppose. Here are 2 examples of the very rare occurrence of a grammar or spelling error. Think you missed something or maybe skipped over a choice too quickly? You can rewind any time. Very convenient. So that's the book, 60 pages, hardback, excellent quality for both paper and print. It is not easy to reproduce the colours from the game accurately, I think, and they've done a fabulous job here. Honestly, it looks really good. And without the cover, you can see it's called Spirit Guide Compendium. And that's really what it is, because there's a lot of information in there to enhance your gameplay. I think a lot of care and attention to detail went into the making of this limited edition. And as I've mentioned before many times when doing unboxings, with the current state of cost explosions for manufacturing all this type of merchandise, it can get rather difficult, and sometimes limited editions, you notice that they've been pared back in terms of both quality of item and design, but I'm really happy to see they've chosen wisely within the limits of what you can do with the amount of money, let's face it. I'm really impressed, actually. You know, having the fan is a really nice touch. Getting a necklace, it's great. Audio drama, game, the book. The book is really good. So now there's only one more thing to do, and that is the extra item. So remember, please, and if you've been using the timestamps to skip here, I'll just repeat that this set is completely separate from the limited edition and can be ordered separately. So we have a smaller book here. No, it's not a book. Oh, goodness. Oops. Oh, that's why they call it an accordion book. Of course. It's concertinaed. This is cute. If you like chibi, then you will like this. You concertina out and you've got all your characters here. Where's Yukimaro? There's Yukimaro together with Seiya. There's Kureha and Hibiki, who's in the same route with Kureha in the school ghost story, and he's a bit of a sad character. Yeah, he's trapped in a really difficult situation. So yeah, that's kind of cute. And here we got a set of postcards, I see. Yep, and they're postcards, character art cards really, that you can use as postcards. I don't think many people use postcards anymore, so these are more collectibles, aren't they? So we have Kureha, Hibiki. I just mentioned a rather sad situation he's trapped in. Koyo, Senna. And by the way, these cards are nicely gloss finished, but not over gloss, if you know what I mean. Just enough. Minami. Seiya, the mysterious warder of hell. My golden boy, Yukimaro. And Koharu. And finally, Toka, who plays a bit of a special role in the whole setup, so I won't explain that any further. So that's what you get with a special accordion book and postcard set. Thank you for including that, Idea Factory. So I can say already that I haven't been this much taken with a visual novel in some time. I started the game when I'd had one of those very long days when you're really tired and you just want to be able to switch off and relax with something completely different. I think you know what I mean. And that's when I started up 9 R.I.P. and I was immediately transported into a totally different world. And honestly, it had the most relaxing effect. So this is currently my go-to for an evening play session when I just want to spend some time with a good story and great characters and enjoy the worlds and all the supernatural shenanigans going on. I can't think of a better way to spend an evening relaxing and letting my brain wander in completely different directions. That's it from me and the spirit world. Will you be diving into 9 R.I.P? Maybe you have already, because I think it released in late October. So let me know. I'm happy to talk spirits. Thank you very much, as always, for your time. Please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.
まとわりつくしがらみも時間が経てば薄まってゆくと麗しい日々にしがみついて1秒でも長く